Hey there, Libra. How you doing? This is the forecast taking you from Monday, the 22nd of December, right the way through to Sunday, the 28th of December. This is Christmas week. If you celebrate Christmas or holidays of any kind whatsoever, this is also, well, we're now into the next season. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you've just had your winter solstice. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere listening to this, you've just had the start of summer. So this is a season changing week as well. Now, last week, we had loads of different things going on, including 4 really big squares that grew over the course of the week ahead. In this week ahead, we've just got 2 aspects that I'm really going to hone in on. One is Venus in a square to Neptune, and the other is Mercury in a trine to Chiron. This means, I think, that the Christmas week is relatively peaceful. I say that like almost with like fingers crossed, because I would hate to say, oh yeah, it's all easy, and then you just like relax and forget about life and then realize you've missed something. But to me, there's not so many planet to planet connections in this week ahead, which is a nice welcome change. In the last few weeks, it's just been really like on it the whole time. Loads of planets sort of coming into their fulfillment of their sort of aspects with each other. It's been very, very intense. This should take the pressure off somewhat. But what I'm going to do in this week ahead forecast is just take you, pace you through all the movements that I think are important, and also comment a little bit about what might be going on leading up to Christmas if you celebrate Christmas as well. And yeah, so that's my plan. If you're new to this channel, by the way, my name's Louisa, and I should just say this is an ascendant sign forecast. So if you know what your rising sign is or your ascendant, that's the one to listen to. If you don't know, you can still listen to your sun sign, but I just recommend that it's better for the ascendant. Anyway, I work from slides, so I'm going to just bring up my slides. And before I go to any charts, I just want to say thank you to the people that support my channel in all the different ways that you do, because you make my life brilliant. Thank you so much. So this is the first of the charts for the week ahead, and you can see it starts Monday 22nd going to Sunday the 28th. And when we come into this, the moon is in the sign of Capricorn. And then by the end of the week, the moon has moved from Capricorn right the way round to Aries. And these are the most important things that I think we could focus on. You can also see where the moon is if you know your symbols. So this is the moon going into Aquarius, the moon going into Pisces, and then finally the moon going into Aries. So I'm going to take you through this. Now, this is using a whole sign Western tropical model. What that means is I'm saying that each sign, there's one whole sign in every house or every section. So there's 12 of these houses. This is the first, second, third, right the way round to the 12th. And so you've got all of Libra in the first house. That's the definition, I guess, that you have Libra at your ascendant. Now, if when you look at your chart, and I'm sure you will have done, because most people watching this channel know their chart a little bit. If you know your chart and you see that you've got the sign for Libra and also the sign for Scorpio in your first house, then it's also good to listen to the Scorpio forecast, because that will also resonate. Anyway, that aside. And by the way, if you don't know your ascendant or your anything about astrology and would like to know, then join my free community. All the details are below. I'll be running courses throughout the whole of next year, but I've also got a free course that will be launched in January. It's a short 5-day course, and if you wanted to participate in that, you can absolutely come on board. But anyway, right, let's get going. So we're starting this week. You'll see that the sun has just gone into the sign of Capricorn. That's the solstice that we're going through right now as I'm recording this, and the moon is in Capricorn. The first thing that's really going on Monday the 22nd is we've got the moon going into the sign of Aquarius. Now, it's going to be in the sign of Aquarius through to the 25th. When it's going through the sign of Aquarius, the moon here is a little bit more distracted. and unattached. And that might be quite helpful, if you've got a lot of things to do. This is not very personalized. This feels really quite like we're a little bit free, a little bit independent in the way we're feeling. And I think that can be quite helpful. The first I should also say on this day as well, on the 22nd, the moon is going to go into a trine with Uranus and also a conjunction with Pluto. Now, this is very fast acting. In fact, there's a lot going on with the moon on Monday, but it's suffice to say where you're putting your focus is really manifesting in speed. The moon in a trine to Uranus, it's going to really bring about spontaneity and really bring about a sort of frequency alignment. And then as the moon comes into a conjunction with Pluto, we're also really strong in what we want to do. Our emotional strength is strong. We need a certain amount of control. And once we got that feeling of control, I guess one of the reasons why we need it is because it just feels like things are moving too fast, too soon. So watch out for that. You might feel quite rushed on Monday. But yeah, that's something that will change and evolve. Tuesday's quite a quiet day, so I won't talk about that. But Wednesday, the 24th, that's when we're really getting the first of our big themes really hitting hard. And that is Venus goes into an exact square with Neptune. Now, Venus and Neptune are both harmonics of love. Venus is the lower harmonic, or the terrestrial earthly harmonic of love. This is the love that we know and can share with each other. This is very real love, messy love, as all relationships tend to be. And then Neptune really shows our ideals for love, our spiritual love, possibly unconditional love, and the possibility of it. And in this square between the two of them, I really get this idea that there's some dissolving expectations. We realize that the love we've been holding out to maybe doesn't exist or can't exist here. It feels like, oh, what's the point? It can also feel like there's a longing that can't be satisfied, and maybe a nostalgia to a time when we felt really connected to the people in our life. I do think we've got this like rose-colored fog that has been clouding our judgment on our relationships. And so it's kind of dreamy and idealistic, but it's almost not possible to manifest. And so we might feel like we've given everything. We might feel a bit like a victim because we've been holding illusions about love. And all of a sudden it feels really strong that maybe that idealized love is just not possible. And I think it's a real thing. The closest I think, that I can come to this feeling is one that I've had, and maybe you've had similar, and maybe right below if you have, but that feeling of that you've been cut from grace, like the fall from grace. It could be, when you felt connected to your mum and you got disconnected, you were born and then your umbilical cord, you're finally a separate being. You weren't in that union. It could be that birth, when you like if you feel like you're a cosmic being, you might feel that separation from God, that separation, you're in this human form. You can't possibly know and feel everything in the same way as when you're not in a body, when you're out of a body. I don't know. I think this can manifest in many ways. And I think a spiritual expression of it is absolutely possible because Neptune is such a spiritual planet. So yeah, anywhere where you're holding illusions about love and connection, I think it could bring us pain if we're not able to connect into love in our bodies, to love our bodies, to love the situation we're in, even if it's not perfect. And of course, nothing is perfect here on Earth, I don't think. And then interestingly, Venus goes straight into the sign of Capricorn straight after. And so that's really showing that we need to come back to earth in our love. We need to be kind of grown up. We might need some boundaries here and there, and we might need to use them a little bit, but it's really talking about the responsibility of love. That maybe everyone needs to pitch in. We don't need to be superhuman to make people to love us. We need to be grounded, love ourselves in our bodies first. And so that's quite helpful to to know about right before Christmas, because obviously it's a very, very strong feeling. And, a lot of people get together with other people around Christmas time, and it can be really hard, to spend, so much time with your family. On Christmas Day, the moon goes into Pisces, which I see as being quite helpful. In the sign of Pisces, there's a graciousness that comes up, and a gentleness and a sharing. There's also some lovely sextiles. The moon is going to be in a sextile to Venus, the Sun, and Mars, and then finally come into a conjunction with the North Node. This is really beautiful. It's really helping people to feel on course, to feel like, there is a purpose to everything that's going on right now. And then as we're coming into the 27th, that's Saturday, the moon is heading into the sign of Aries. And then I think we're coming out of that honeymoon phase, or that Christmas phase. It really feels like it's time now to kind of dust down your hands, pull up your sleeves, get cleaning and stuff, or whatever it is that helps you feel like you're getting back into action. And then as we're coming up to the 28th, let me just bring up the chart of that. We've got Mercury going into an exact trine with Chiron. And it just so happens that as that happens, we've also got the moon in an exact conjunction with Chiron. So let me unpack this a little bit, because this is more for the end of the week, but you'll feel it building up. So first of all, the moon in a conjunction with Chiron, it brings about a sensitivity that's hard to ignore, like a core wound that gets triggered every now and again. In fact, the moon will go over this point every month without fail. So it might be something that you're really used to, like a core wound that comes up once a month. Especially if you're around, 49 to 51, you'll be going through your Chiron return right now. It will be so much stronger than usual, but it will be bringing up stuff from childhood, often stuff to do with rejection, often, especially in the sign of Aries. I would say it's got to do with rejection, because, Aries is about the identification with our identity. Like, we identify, we know who we are. It's about our personality, and our being. And so the moon in a conjunction to Chiron can really bring up core rejection. But Chiron in a trine to Mercury helps us to talk about it and to have a really healing conversation. Now, this is taking place in your 7th house to your 3rd house. And actually, I realize I haven't mentioned houses yet. Between the 7th house and the 3rd house, this is really speaking about rejection from relationships versus how you feel within the community. The Mercury in this 3rd part of your chart, the 3rd house, is really showing how much of a sense of belonging you get. Like, where do you belong, I guess. And so I think there's a really healing conversation taking place about your sense of belonging, and there's a breakthrough. There's a really gentle breakthrough that allows you to have that sense of, I do belong here. This is my place. And we might not always agree with each other, but I am home. Now, I should have mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to mention it now, finally. During this week ahead as well, you've got the Sun, Mars, and also Venus in the 4th house in the sign of Capricorn, which is about the home. So this whole week ahead, in fact, I mean, these are going on, for, like, the Sun's going to be here for a good month. This is the time of year when home becomes a lot more important, not because of Christmas necessarily. It's a time to return. It's a time to come back to your core programming. It's a time to come back to your core relationships, to review them, to see how grounded you are. It's also a time when you might want to connect with where you've come from. So it might be a time when you actually go back home if you've moved away. And it might be a time when you also talk to the people from your childhood. The fact that these three are so tight together, I think, is quite helpful. You're ready to take action at home. You're ready to look at your home-based identity. How does what you've learned in childhood apply to what's going on now for you? And then Venus as well. This is, how can I experience love with my family? So family and home just seems like such a strong theme right now. Now, if I go back to Christmas Day, sorry, this is so like out of order. The moon on Christmas Day, when the moon comes into the sign of Pisces, yes, it's gentle and it's lovely. Your heart and your head are also in this desire to make everything work on Christmas Day, to get everything organized. But again, in a gentle way. This isn't where you have to carry everything on your shoulders, but merely you're leading the way. The fact that the moon is making these sextiles to the home, I think, and to the family, is just showing where you're engaging with your family, and this becomes a real team effort. It's not that you're meant to be carrying everything on your own. This is a time when everyone is coming together and working together in a beautiful way. So yeah, as I see this happening, I just see that your faith in your sense of belonging is returning. So yeah, at the end of this week, the moon is in a conjunction with Chiron, so it's bringing up something about rejection, maybe feeling like you don't belong, and worrying about it. But Mercury is bringing in these healing conversations, and then the moon in a trine with Mercury is also making you want to talk more, and also helping the people around you to talk more. This might be a really good opening, in fact, because this is taking place in your 7th house. This is a time when maybe your family and your friends, your nearest and dearest, are caught off guard, and they're a lot more talkative than usual. This is a chance for you to recognize there is an opportunity for you to get something off your chest, because the person around you is actually willing to go there. So I hope these are helpful in understanding some of the energies in this week ahead, to know how it applies to you, to know how to move forwards. And also I hope it helps you have a really beautiful holiday. If you would like to learn more about astrology or to learn with me, then just look at the link below, or even click on this, scan this QR code above me, and it will take you straight to my free community. It's on a platform called School. That's school.com, SKOOL.com. And I put in free forecast there. There's a Monday to Friday forecast, actually capturing the whole of the week. From January, I'm actually going to be teaching not just a quick intro, a quick but beautiful little intro to astrology, but I'm going to be formally teaching astrology as well. And if you'd like to join me for that, you can also do that via School. So I hope this is really helpful to you. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead. And yeah, hopefully catch up with you all soon. There's a lot of hope there. So have a good one, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.